Hello, I'm Dr Naraniecki from the Millis Institute at Christian Heritage College, and welcome to LIT102 Great Books of the Western World. In our first lecture, which we just had a few hours ago, we looked at the work of William Blake, and particularly his Songs of Innocence and Experience. Um, just a few things to note when reading Blake. Uh, Firstly, he was a radically innovative writer and one of the most important writers in the British literary tradition, particularly because of his reaction against Enlightenment rationalism. So that is the general scientific and cultural move associated with the Industrial Revolution towards rationalizing society, that is, reducing the universe to a clockwork mechanism, understanding the world as being like a clock and humans like a machine. Um, and the idea that reason and rationality are the most important things about being human. So this is kind of the one of the views that he was reacting against. So he was reacting against this view as well as the view that Enlightenment thinkers themselves were reacting against, that is, traditional religious authorities and traditional established authorities, kings, monarchs, this sort of thing. So he was a very radical writer in this sense, taking a very personal approach to spirituality and religion. So these things are crucial to note with Blake. So that's basically part of the context of where he's coming from. Uh, in terms of the technical features to his thought, um, well, one thing to note is that Blake didn't receive a normal schooling. He basically had very little schooling at all, and he was apprenticed as an engraver. Um, so he learned his trade as a copper engraver, um, and he was highly successful in that, and he was highly skilled in that. He was a highly skilled engraver, um, and he earned his living as an engraver. And one of the interesting things we can learn from Blake is the importance of having a technical basis in a particular skill. So when one of the reasons why he's so unique is that he draws upon this traditional skill basis that he worked laboriously and hard to develop over his youth and over the years, and develop a new technique for engraving, one which enabled him to incorporate paintwork or painting onto the engraving and include text in that. So he was able to do the radical new thing of producing his own book, one with text and pictures and colouring and able to print that himself. So this was a radical aspect of his work. However, his work can't be reduced to such technical innovations. Um, there was another aspect of Blake that went above and beyond this technical excellence and this technical sense, this technical capacity for innovation he had, and that was kind of his ability to, what we might say, engage with the transcendental world, or engage with the realm of otherworldly realm. He saw spirits, he saw all sorts of entities. He was a seer, as you might say. He had a strange side to him that kept him isolated. Um, so he so he had this sense of engaging with spirits constantly. Uh, so there's that side of him that made him kind of an odd character. Uh, but that was also linked with a highly attuned ethical sense. He was someone who was profoundly disturbed by the effects of industrial life in the city of London where he lived upon the poor and particularly upon children. And the impact that poverty of children in the city of London had upon his religious views and his almost messianic quest to return to a earlier form of spiritual community that he associated with the idea of Albion and England as a Jerusalem, and London as kind of a Jerusalem. This kind of underpinned his thought. So we have these three major aspects to Blake's work that makes him such an interesting character. One is the highly technical innovations. I mean, being able to print his own book, his for someone of his modest means at his time was absolutely extraordinary. It was engaging with the latest technology of his time, so he was cutting edge, involved in a cutting edge way with the latest technology. So there's that aspect. The second aspect is his profound religious sensibilities. I mean, he learnt Hebrew, Greek, and Latin himself. He was self-taught, so he learnt these so he could engage directly with scripture and with classical text. So profound engagement with the text of his tradition and the religious sensibilities. There was also Blake, the seer, the mystic, the person who saw spirits and engaged with spirits. That aspect coming to the fore in his poems. And so these are the main aspects, along with a profound moral sensibility and a profound desire to return to the Gospels and return to the morality of the Gospels and return to what he saw was kind of an authentic Christian tradition, Christian community. So these elements all come together in his work, and the next video I'll make would be devoted towards unpacking a poem. But just keep all these elements in mind when reading Blake. That this is a highly complex writer, someone who was highly innovative, and someone who had an array of talents as well as unusual gifts, spooky gifts in a certain way. So yeah, all these things coming together to create his work. Okay, thank you.